there is more and more stories about how to vaccinate the reluctant vaxxers and the right-wing, diehard, I'm not going to get vaccinated just to prove that I'm going to own the libs, as it were. And in my estimation, that's a bit of a mistake. There are millions of people in this country who would be willing to be vaccinated if the vaccines found them and became more convenient. People obviously have work and childcare obligations and don't necessarily have the means to travel in the same way. And so what the government, I think, needs to do is start to get a little better at that and give the vaccine reluctant a little more time, maybe get it to primary care physicians who might have a better relationship with them. But that is just what we need to do in this country. Right now in India, there is the outbreak is horrible, and there are obviously new variants that are growing. Some reports of a variant that is even more contagious than the B117 that I believe is over there as well. And it is hitting younger people. And one of the things that we need to do, and there's a lot of talk as to whether we can actually achieve herd immunity in any real way, never mind just in this country, but just broadly speaking around the globe. The bottom line is we need to get the vaccine deployed to more people. And the experts who do not have any vested interest in the IP, the so-called intellectual property, one way or another, unanimously say that loosening the patent restrictions on these vaccines, and not just the formalization of the vaccine itself, but also on the process of producing these vaccines, will get these things produced and disseminated much quicker. And regardless of what Bill Gates says, the idea that there aren't manufacturing facilities around the world that can handle this is ridiculous. We just saw a perfect example in this very exotic place known as Pennsylvania. I think it's Philadelphia, where the Johnson & Johnson manufacturing...
Baltimore.
Was it Baltimore?
Yeah.
Well, the even more exotic.
Yeah, I know.
Their facility was garbage. There's, the idea is that there is this attempt to project this notion that you need to do it in the United States.
India is the #1 world producer of vaccines in the world. They've got no facilities up to Bill Gates' standards. Either he's a xenophobic bigot or he has a financial interest in I don't think that but maybe a little bit of both.
I don't think he has a financial. I think it's ideological. I think it's just purely ideological.
Okay, a controlling God complex interest in it at the very least.
I think that's a little more accurate, to be honest with you. I mean, people may find it, he may be a little more offended by that, but.
Oh.
But here's the thing. One of the things that Joe Biden promised while he was candidate, Joe Biden, was that if we got into this type of situation, that he would relax the patent restrictions. Here is a clip of an interview he did back in the, I'm not 100% sure when that was, but it was during the campaign, the general election. Activist Addie Barkan asked candidate Joe Biden if he'd waive IP for a theoretical COVID vaccine. Biden doesn't hesitate.
If the U.S. discovers a vaccine first, will you commit to sharing that technology with other countries? And will you ensure there are no patents to stand in the way of other countries and companies mass producing those life-saving vaccines?
Absolutely, positively. This is the only humane thing in the world to do.
I mean...
Seems pretty clear there.
Not a lot of wiggle room there. So, disseminate that clip widely.
I mean, what's interesting is that Joe Biden, throughout the entire election, was talking about how we need to listen to the experts and listen to the scientists. The premier scientist in this area, Dr. Anthony Fauci, or Tony Fauci, as Tucker Carlson would disparage him as, is within the administration encouraging this vaccine waiver, this patent waiver. And Biden seems to not be listening to that particular expert in this area, because there are big pharma executives, at least who are experts in terms of their own finances, who are putting pressure on the other side. But from a purely political perspective, which is clearly the only way you can get through to Democrats at this point, it doesn't look good to side with pharma executives. It certainly does not, even regardless of people's political affiliation, voters.
And the Biden administration has shown that it reacts to blowback on these things. So the more you make us think, the better the chance is, to provide these vaccines for the rest of the world. All right, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be talking to Aaron Kleinman. He is the director of research for Future Now. We'll be right back. Talk about redistricting, and then later, student debt.